In his last book, Camera Lucida, Roland Barthes explores the essential nature of photography through a rambling discourse which traverses his thoughts, time, and love in a weave of impressions that are as exasperating as they are intricate. His conversation with the reader, or himself, is personal, confiding, and at times painful to read. My first reaction to the book, and one that lasted nearly all 119 pages, was, "Shut the fuck up about your mother." Harsh? Possibly, but I felt I was being gloomily led about a garden of his poor, wounded child's creation. I am aware that this is a narrative technique, but it fell short, for I find people who wallow in their wounds dead bores. Barth's melancholy wanderings and my intolerances aside, there are some nuggets of insight and inspiration to be found in the ashen twilight of Barth's desolate inner world. Obviously a philosopher of rare genius, it is worth slogging through the winding path of his discourse to catch the fleeting glimpses of truth you will perceive on the journey. This journey wasn't as original as it might have been for me had I not read Anthony Colomatti's dissertation. Colomatti draws heavily and builds extensively upon Barth's work. This familiarity with the philosophical landscape of a more contemporary perspective softens the impact of Barth's insights upon me. But I digress. Barthes introduces us to three essential practices, intentions, of a photograph: the operator, or photographer, the spectrum, or subject of the photograph, and the spectator, person viewing the photograph. Put simply, your intention is to take the action of the photograph, you intend to be the subject of it, or you intend to view the photograph. Barthes approaches his exploration on essential nature of photography from two of these three intentions. He is not a photographer, so did not believe he could speak with authority from that perspective. I like his honesty and his idea that photography can be approached from multiple practices or intentions. We have all been the spectrum, subject, of a photograph. If we are aware of the operator's intent, our awareness changes our behavior. The becoming spectrum transforms us, and we consciously or unconsciously put forth a mask for the prospective spectators we anticipate will see the photograph. It is a ritual of posing, a social game. Barthes says there are four forces or image repertoires at work in a close-field photographic portrait. A person before the camera is four things simultaneously: the image they think they are, the image other spectators think they are, the image the photographer thinks they are, and the final image put on display. It is from the role of spectator, however, that Barthes explores the essence of photography in greatest depth. He strives to identify what elements of photography transcend the simple techne of photography. Barthes introduces us to the concepts of studium and punctum. Studium is the general, cultural, or historical essence of photography. It is derived not from the spectrum of the photograph, but from the spectator. It is our interest, our curiosity, our desire for adventure or involvement that provides photography with studium. Punctum, on the other hand, rises from the spectrum of the photograph and pierces or wounds the spectator. It is something that either shatters the stadium or amplifies it. Photographs can be punctuated with these impactive elements which jar us into deeper involvement. However, many photographs contain nothing which the spectator can imbue with cultural, historical, or general interest. Even those photographs with essential studium have nothing arresting about them. They have no punctum. They become something simply banal or common and do not retain in our memories. Punctum is something personally evocative that exists in the photograph for everyone but may only pierce or wound particular spectators of the photograph. According to Barthes, these elements, like a necklace, a shoe strap, or a collar, are visible to any spectator but impact individual spectators in such a way as to bring the photo alive for them. Barthes further enters into the nature of photography, distinguishing it from movies or television by defining photography as representing what was. It is a moment in time, a captured moment through which the subject moved. Photography captures the moment in time, movies capture the movement through time. Photography distinguishes itself from painting and drawing because a photograph represents something that existed, something real. Painting, illustration, or drawing is an interpretation of what was, or may only be fictional. There is no way to know. This idea of absolute representation of what was is in itself hysterical and historical. Barthes emphasizes the idea of photography's authority when he recounts receiving a photograph of himself in a location he has no memory of. The photograph's authority is such that we accept facts as presented in the photograph. This may have been true in the 1980s, but as 2010s, we are skeptical of photographic authenticity. Another aspect of photography, especially of people, is the dual perception of what was and what is dead or gone, especially when looking at historical pictures of people, such as a condemned man on death's row. We are struck by the conflicting role of photography in presenting what was alive with the realization of death. Barth dwells upon photography's role as the herald of death, as religion's role as the intermediary between life and death has diminished in the past 2 centuries. The role cannot be forsaken. Chemistry, through photography, has become the intermediary and herald of death. Barth ends by suggesting that we, the spectators, must choose how we shall relate to the photograph. We can perceive it simply as a spectacle to be viewed through civilization's code, or we can confront the photograph as the awakening of interactable reality. I generated none of the images used in this presentation. They have been used in accordance with fair use as established in U.S. trademark law. No assumption of copyright has been implied. This material is for educational use only.